Hello, this is Amber Rain Davis. Welcome to my YouTube channel and blog at notableink.com. This is part 2 of the video series illustrating the final project for the Level 2 Altenew Educator Certification Program. If you missed part 1, go ahead and go back and start there. That shows how I created all of these flowers for this project. Part 2 will be the process of putting all of these flowers together for the final home decor piece and also accompanying tag. So let's get started. The products that were used for this project were listed in the first video. I'm going to start off with a piece of Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock cut to 8.5 by 8.5. I've drawn 2 guidelines from corner to corner to mark the middle, and I'm using a compass to create a circle that is just slightly larger than the largest circle die that I'm going to use to cut out the middle. That was the best way that I could figure to get a circle die placed exactly in the center. I'm just going to go ahead and die cut that, and then I'm going to use the compass again to draw another circle about 1.5 inches larger than the die cut. And I cut 2 pieces of cardstock when I did that original die cut. I've glued those 2 together, and then I'm just going to cut this circle out. This is going to be basically a wreath frame for the flowers. It's going to be the base that I'm going to glue all of the flowers onto. Once I've got that cut out, I'm going to go ahead and use the compass again and do a circle that's smaller than the wreath frame so that I can back it with this teal color. This color scheme is part of the color scheme on my website, so I'm kind of coordinating with my website and my logo since I'm using my tagline for the sentiment that's in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I'm going to use the bold caps alpha dies to spell the word ink, and I'm going to place that down centered. I'm going to die cut this out of 2 pieces of Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock. I want it to be nice and thick as I'm going to pop it up, and I want it to be pretty hardy. Because the 2 pieces of cardstock are so thick, it didn't go all the way through. You could run it through again, or you could use a metal shim. You may be able to get through both pieces that way. I'm going to go ahead and wiggle this back into the piece where it's kind of embossed in. It should fit in perfectly, and I'll die cut that again. Once they're die cut, I'll go ahead and glue those 2 pieces together. You're going to see me just kind of wiggle it around and make sure it's perfectly lined up before the glue sets. Once that glue is set, I'll go ahead and use some foam tape. I'm going to double up the foam tape so that I get more dimension. I'm just going to put those 2 pieces together and fold it back on itself, and then I'll cut those pieces to fit the wreath and also the middle part. We'll glue on that backing piece, and then I generally eyeball quite a few things, so I'm just going to eyeball this to get it in the center, and then we're ready to start arranging. The layered stamped flowers are mostly solid. There's not a lot of space in between the individual petals. So I'm going to put those on the lowest level of the wreath. Those will be behind all of the other flowers. You're going to see that I'm going to cut the petals on those flowers to add greater dimension. So I'm just getting those lined up. So here you're going to see me start to cut in between the petals so that I can curl the petals up and get further dimension. I'm going to be putting this wreath into a shadow box frame and hanging it in my craft area. So I want to have a lot of nice dimension underneath that shadow box. So all of these flowers that I'm going to add to the top, you're going to see me cut into those flowers in between the leaves, kind of cutting off some of the white cardstock that is around the flowers as necessary to get them to curl up as much as possible. I've backed these 2 sentiments that I wrote with calligraphy with a pointed pen with some foam tape. I'm going to pop those up, and we'll continue arranging these flowers. So I know a lot of time was spent color penciling, watercoloring, layer stamping these images, but I really wanted them to have a lot of dimension. So don't be afraid to take your scissors and cut into these once you're done. You want to get pretty deep in between the petals and the leaves. And even in this case, where there wasn't space in between the petals up on the rose, I'm going to cut petals myself for where I differentiated with the contrast with the darker pencil. You can see there I'm trying to bend it and get the dimension, and I'm not getting exactly what I want. So I'm just going to cut into those along the lines that I made with the color pencils and get as much dimension as I possibly can. And then I'm just going to cut off some of that white that was left over from the die cut because there was just a little too much. And so then we'll be able to add dimension to that. So I'm going to cut through a few more so that you can see it'll be different for each one. This particular flower for many of the petals already has pretty deep grooves, but don't be afraid to follow along the black line. Go past where there's white, follow along the black line and get a deeper groove in there so that you can add that dimension. You can also bend the flowers at an angle along the curve of the image that you're seeing so that the bend appears more organic. So just work with your flowers, get the dimension that you want. Once we've got the dimension, then we'll be able to start placing them down with foam tape. You may need to cut some of the stems. This particular flower right here, I bend this one in such a way that it bends along. So you can see that I'm cutting past the white into the flower, and I'm going to bend it along the crease in the petal. So you can kind of see there, I'm twisting it there. So I've cut most of the flowers and leaves here, and I'm just using foam squares, tape runner, to get those set in place. Sometimes you may need to double up on your foam squares so that it has the right amount of height so that you've got flowers at different heights and dimension. Make sure you've got enough balance to your wreath between the pink, the teal, and that's why I use just the black and white to kind of break up that color scheme. And then we'll move into making the accompanying tag. This is just a standard tag die. It's a stitched tag die. I'm not even sure which company it's from, but I'm using the Mini Blossom die cut machine from Altenew. This is a great die cut machine because it fits right on your desk, so it's really handy for your sentiments and small dies that you're using. I'm going to cut out one tag in the Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock, so it's nice and sturdy, and then another one from the teal cardstock. I want the tag to have a similar theme as the home decor piece, so I'm going to take the halftone circles and cut a circle out of the center of that die so that the teal cardstock will show through in the finished piece. Go ahead and run that through the Mini Blossom die cut with those two halftone circle stack dies, and then we'll be ready to create our sentiment. For the sentiment, we're going to be using You Inspire Me. I did not have exactly that sentiment in my stamps, so we're going to go ahead and use pointed pen and some calligraphy. The other reason to do that is because it will help coordinate it with the original home decor piece. So we'll do Inspire Me in the middle, and then You and Me above and below in just block print. Once we have that complete and it's dry, I'll go ahead and pop those pieces up with foam tape to the finished tag. I'll add a few of the leftover flowers to the tag to finish it off, and the project will be done. So here you can see the finished home decor piece in its shadow box frame with the accompanying finished tag. I so enjoyed creating this project. It was fantastic. I love that I'll be able to keep this in my craft room as a source of inspiration. I hope that you feel inspired to do a project like this in any of the watercoloring or color penciling, calligraphy, any of those things. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and blog. You can also see me on Instagram at Notable Ink. Have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for stopping by.